Gold saw a late rally this week after preliminary US GDP data showed the US economy slowed by more than expected in the first quarter of the year. Friday afternoon's PM London fix was $1,663.50 an ounce, a 1.3% weekly gain. Despite also staging a late rally, silver failed to make up all the ground it lost at the start of the week. Friday's silver fix was $31.14, a 2% fall from a week earlier. Physical bullion demand remained quiet this week. Reports from India suggest gold demand for this year's Akshaya Tritiya festival, which fell on Tuesday, was 10 tons lower than last year. This week brought several signs of economic slowdown. First estimate data showed that the US economy grew by an annual rate of 2.2% in the first quarter of 2012, compared to 3% in the final quarter of last year. Earlier in the week, it was revealed that Britain slipped back into recession in Q1, with the first GDP estimate showing contraction for the second consecutive quarter. Data from China, meanwhile, suggests that Chinese manufacturing activity continues to fall. Slower growth tends to make it harder for people, companies and governments to make payments on their debt. This in turn may lead central bankers to consider more monetary stimulus. Indeed, Japan's central bank increased its quantitative easing measures by a net amount of 5 trillion yen this week, equivalent to around $60 billion. The central bank that investors watch most closely, though, is the Federal Reserve, which kept its policies unchanged when it met this week. The Eurozone crisis came back into the news this week. A disagreement over austerity measures led to the collapse of the Netherlands government, while on Tuesday, Spain received a 2-notch downgrade from ratings agency Standard & Poor's. Next week sees the release of the latest US non-farm jobs data. Federal Reserve Chairman Ben Bernanke said this week that the US needs to add between 150 to 200,000 jobs a month in order to meet Fed projections. This is something to keep in mind when next Friday's figures are announced. To keep up to date with the latest in gold and silver, as well as the wider markets, visit goldnews.bullionvault.com.